Good morning and welcome to my class. I'm Miss Vandana Gupta, Assistant Professor of Mathematics. We have already completed the first unit, that is shares and mutual funds of mathematics. You know that this course, Mathematical and Statistical Techniques, it has got two sections. Section 1 is mathematics and section 2 is statistics. In section 1, you have got two units. Unit 1 is shares and mutual fund, that we have completed. And in section 2, statistics, we have got 3 units. Okay. So I'm starting with the first unit of statistics, or if you look at the serial wise, it is the third unit, which is summarization measures. There are following two subunits in this unit. One is measures of central tendencies and the other one is measures of dispersion. So before we actually begin with this section of statistics, today I'm going to introduce you with statistics. What is statistics? Why we should study statistics? And what are the some important terms which you should know before you actually begin studying these statistics? Okay. So let us start with that. What is statistics? Before I actually define the term statistics, let me explain you with the help of one example. See, after you have completed your HSC, you have applied for BCom, right? So when you start the admission process, what happens? The first of all, you have to go to the university site and register, correct? And in that site, it is there is one form which you have to fill, correct? And a similar type of form you also have to fill in college. So there are two forms which you have to fill. One is university enrollment form, registration form, you can say, and the second one is the college. Now you might be remembering that what are the informations which are asked to do in this form. Just try to recollect your name as per HSC mark sheet, father's name, your mother's name, then your telephone number, your email ID, your family income, your caste, whether you belong to open category, your reserved category, your religion, whether you are Hindu or Muslim, and what is your birthplace, what is your date of birth, what is your family income. Like so many informations were asked to you, okay, and you have filled that information in the form. Also, the most important thing, the percentage in HSC, correct? That also it was asked. So many information was collected in the form of a application form. So in that application form, you have fed your information, correct? So this information which was collected from the students, like the name and gender and family income and HSC marks and whatever. So this information which is collected, each of the information is called as a characteristic. Okay, and this the group of information which is collected is called as a data. That means from students, data is collected. We call it as data is collected. Now, why this data is collected? Why we need to know the percentage? Why we need to know the category of the student? See, or the family income. Why it is important? Why we want all this? See, you know that the HSC percentage is required. Why? Because on the basis of that only you are going to get the admission, correct? The merit list will be prepared and all this, correct? And why the category is asked? Caste category, because you know that there is certain percentage of seats reserved for caste as per the caste, like scheduled caste, OBC, and general category. So all these all this information is required for that, correct? Also the family income, इससे पता चलता है कि हमारे स्टूडेंट कितने स्टूडेंट का फैमिली, आई मीन they come from lower income group or I mean, if any strategy is to be applied to them to uplift them, or some scholarship or something like that can be given to them. So all this information is collected to make some plans, make some strategies, okay, as per the study of the information or the data. So this is one example which I have given you. Also, another example you can say, census survey. You know that the census of India, India की कितनी population, it is counted every 10 years. So to count that, you might have noticed that the representative of government or some people who are employed for that work, they come to your house and they ask you so many questions and they jot down that. Okay, what type of question they ask? How many members are there in your family? What is, how many people, what is their age? So how many people are, what is the, I mean, what is the education qualification? Do you have a vehicle in your home? Or what service your father is doing? Are you from business class, or I mean, do you have do your own business, or you are a government servant, or like many other questions. Okay, so why all this information is required to know? Okay, to make, so what does government do? Government collect this type of data from all the household. So one thing is for getting the count of how many people are there. So census. Not just that. Besides that, see, this data gives many information, like the education status of the people. If government feels, or after studying the data, that in this particular area, the literacy rate is very low. The children are not going to school. So government will find out what are the reasons for that. Maybe there are no proper schools, or maybe schools are not in that locality, which is very far. So after studying the data, government will come out with some conclusions. Okay, you need to, I mean, you should have a good school here. So government may build some good school here, start some good schools. So this data collection helps in making the plans, strategies. Okay. Also, say with this data, it, government also comes to know that the income of the household. So, like in that particular area, what is the income group? What type of people they live there? I mean, what is their uh, financial status? And as per the financial status, more strategies could be planned to uplift them. Maybe the unemployment rate may be more in that particular area. So government may make some strategies to give the employment to, or works towards giving the employment in that particular area. So all this data is collected to analyze the data or to study the data, and on the study of the data, make uh, certain plans or certain strategies to improve the condition. So this collection, this data, actually statistics is nothing but it's a science which deals with the data. It is also called as a branch of mathematics because the many analysis of the data involves many mathematical tools. Okay. So statistics we define as a branch of mathematics that deals with the data. Now, just collecting the data is not enough. Okay, it involves the following steps. What are the steps involved? So it is a branch of mathematics that deals with the collection of data, classification of the data. Means after the data is collected, it is classified. For example, after we collect the data from the students, the classification is done. That is how many students are from open category, how many are from SC category of like. So that is called as a classification. Then analysis, मतलब data is studied. Okay, उसके ऊपर analysis study की जाती है. And then interpretation of the data. After analyzing the data, interpretation of the data is done. Okay, and on the basis of that, various plans and strategies are worked. So statistics is a branch of mathematics that deals with the collection, classification, analysis, and interpretation of the data. Now there are certain terms which you should know, okay, which are used in statistics. The first one is population. What is population? Any set of objects about which a statistical inquiry is being made is called the population. The population, I will explain you in Hindi, so that will be more comfortable for you to understand. Population kya hai? It is any collection of people or object about which you are going to study. That is called the population. So, for example, in the case of my first example of students seeking admission for first year BCom, what is my population? I am collecting the data from those students who are going to take admission for first year BCom. So, what is my population? All those students who have passed HSC and they are applying for BCom. That is what is my population. Okay. The population is any set means collection or group about which some inquiry you are going to make. Okay? That is called a population. And the information required from each individual member of the population is called the characteristic. So all the students, they are the group of the student is the population. And what are the information I'm taking from them? I'm taking the information regarding their name, their caste, their percentage. So this information which I'm collecting is called as a characteristic. What is data? Data is the set of relevant information which is collected to study a particular characteristic of the population. To study a particular characteristic, whatever information you require and you are collecting, that is called as a data. Now, most important thing, let's say, the terms which we use in statistics, it is variate and attribute. Now, what is a variate? If the characteristic that is being studied is numerical in nature, then it is called as variate or a variable. Variate is also called as a variable. What is the meaning of numerical? Numerical means anything which you can write in the form of number. Anything which can be expressed or represented by numbers. It is called as numerical. Okay. So variate is any characteristic that can be represented by numbers. It is called as a variate. For example, marks obtained by student. It's a characteristic, right? I'm collecting the marks of the student. So it will be in the form of numbers, correct? So that is a variate. Second, number of family members. If I'm asking in the form, how many members are there in your family? So that answer will be in the form of number. Okay, so that is again a variate. Third one, annual income of the family. If I ask you what is the income of your family, you are going to give me an answer which will be in the form of numbers, correct? So that is again a variate. So any characteristic which can be expressed in the form of numbers is called as variate. It is that. What is the second thing? Attribute. If the characteristic that is being studied is non-numerical, that is qualitative in nature, meaning which cannot be expressed in the form of number, is called as attribute. So attribute का मतलब क्या है? ऐसा characteristic जिसको हम नंबर के रूप में नहीं देख सकते, that is called as an attribute. For example, caste of student. अगर मैंने पूछा कास्ट क्या है, तो आपका आंसर ऐसा नहीं होगा कि मेरा कास्ट 1 है या 2 है. You will write your caste, ना? It is general category or scheduled caste or scheduled tribe, whatever. Okay, or OBC. So इसका जो आंसर होगा, it will not be in the form of number. So this is called as an attribute. Second is religion of each student. I ask what is the religion, your answer will not be 1, 2, 3, etc. Your answer will be either Hindu, or Muslim, or Christian. Okay? So religion of student is also an example of attribute. So I hope you have understood these two terms, variate and attribute. Variate is something which can be written in the form of numbers. Attribute is something which cannot be written in the form of numbers. So these are the characteristics. Okay. Now types of variate. In variate also there are two types. First one is called as a discrete variate and the second one is called as a continuous variate. There are two types of variate. Okay. What is discrete variate? Look at it. Discrete variate, a variate which takes only integer values like 0, -1, 1, -1, 2, and so on, is called as discrete variate. A discrete variate will not take fractional values like 1.5, 2.25, 6.3, etc. Let me explain to you this. See, discrete variate is a variate जो केवल integer value ही ले सकता है. For example, now what is the meaning of integer value? Integer values, integer numbers क्या होते हैं? Integer numbers are numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The list is endless. Okay, बहुत बढ़ता जाएगा ये list. You don't know what is the biggest integer. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. 0 is also an integer. Then negative numbers, -1, -2, -3, they are also integers. But if I ask you what is 1.2, so this is not an integer. जहाँ पर fraction आ गया, decimal आ गया, that is not an integer. तो discrete variate क्या है? Discrete variate वो variate होता है जो केवल integer values ही लेता है, यानी कि decimal नहीं होना चाहिए. इसलिए मैंने यहाँ लिखा है a discrete variate will not take fractional values. Okay? So 1.2 or 0.5 or 1/2, they are not. Okay? Or 3 whole and 1.2, that is 3.5. These are also not an integer. Okay, so they will not be called as discrete variate. So in a simple language, you can say that discrete variate means a variate which can take values which are whole numbers, not fractions. Okay, 0 भी ले सकता है, minus भी ले सकता है, लेकिन it should be a whole number. It should not be a fraction. Correct? Examples. Examples of discrete variate. The number of family members of a student is a discrete. If I ask you how many members are there in your family, then you will give me an answer. If you have 4 members, you will say 4 or 5 or 6. You will not say in your family there are 3.2 people. Will you say like that? No, it will not make any sense. Correct? So number of family members will be a whole number. It's a discrete value. So it's an example of a discrete value. Correct? Then the next example, total marks of a student in HSC. It is also a discrete value. If you have an HSC mark sheet with you, you can see total marks out of 600. It is either 400 or 450 or 500. It's a whole number. It is not in decimal, correct? So it is again an example of a discrete value. Then there is something called continuous variate. What is continuous variate? A variate which can take any value within a given range is called as a continuous variate. Continuous variate means a variable that can take any value within a given range. That means it can take even decimal values also, fraction values also. So that is a continuous variate. In other words, a continuous variate can take fractional values like 1.5, 2.25, -6.3, etc. Okay. Look at the examples. Height of a student. It is a continuous variate because height can be in decimal. हाइट किसी का 5.5 फीट हो सकता है, 6.2 फीट भी हो सकता है, तो इट कैन बी अ फ्रैक्शन. It can, so 5.5, it is between 5 and 6, correct? So it takes value between a given range, 5 और 6 के बीच में इसका आंसर होगा. Okay, so between 5 and 6, 5.5 is between 5 and 6. Similarly, percentage of students. Percentage of student, that is also a continuous variate. If you see that the percentage of student can be in decimal, correct? It's percentage. Okay. Percentage of marks of a student is a continuous variate. As percentage can be in decimal, can be 65.3. Okay. So what we have understood, discrete variate means a variate which can take only whole numbers. And continuous variate is a variate which can take values within a given range. So it can take value which are decimal also. So these are the examples. Then I have given you some assignment to be some problem which you have to solve by yourself. You can take it as a homework. So what we have to summarize what we have done today, we started with what is statistics. So let us quickly revise. Statistics is a branch of mathematics that deals with data. It involves the following steps. First, the data is collected, then it is classified, then the analysis of the data is done, and then finally the interpretation. Why you want to study statistics? To make future plans, to make the strategies, right? जैसे कि मैंने आपको examples में बताया. Then some terms which we have studied: population, characteristic and data. Population क्या है? Any group of people जिसके बारे में आपको स्टडी करना है. जैसे कि स्टूडेंट्स जो फर्स्ट ईयर बीकॉम में एडमिशन लेने वाले हैं, तो इनके बारे में मुझे स्टडी करना है. तो दैट इज माय पॉपुलेशन. ठीक है. देन कैरेक्टरिस्टिक में उनके बारे में मैं क्या इंफॉर्मेशन ले रही हूँ, दैट इज द कैरेक्टरिस्टिक. डेटा क्या है? डेटा इज द सेट ऑफ रेलेवेंट इंफॉर्मेशन व्हिच आई एम कलेक्टिंग from the people in the population. So that is what is the data. It is the group of information which is collected. Then variate is what? Variate is any characteristic which can be written in the form of number. That is variate. जिसको हम नंबर के फॉर्म में लिख सकते हैं और जिसको नंबर के फॉर्म में नहीं लिख सकते हैं, that is attribute. Now variate दो तरह के होते हैं, discrete and continuous. Discrete क्या होता है? जो केवल होल नंबर इंटीजर वैल्यूज ही लेता है, नो फ्रैक्शन वैल्यूज. फॉर एग्जांपल, नंबर ऑफ फैमिली मेंबर्स, स्ट्रेंथ ऑफ द क्लास, ओके, हाउ मेनी एक्सीडेंट्स हैपेंड ऑन ए पर्टिकुलर डे on a particular road, that cannot be in fraction, or marks obtained by student. So these are all the examples of discrete. Then the continuous variate which can take any value within a given range. So it can take even decimal. Now these assignments. So from few we will do here and the remaining you can do at home. So look at the first question. What is the first question? From the following, which is a variate and which is an attribute? Look at the first one. Annual income of the family. What will be that? Will it be a variate or an attribute? Write in the chat box. Okay. So annual income of the family, what will be that? Will it be a variate or an attribute? Who will write? It's a variate, correct. Mother tongue. Mother tongue, if I ask you what is your mother tongue, your answer will not be in the form of numbers, correct? So it is an attribute. Nationality, that is also an attribute. Number of students in FYBCOM class, definitely it will be a variate, correct? Religion of a person, it is attribute. Gender of a student, male or female, the answer will be either male or female, not one to three, correct? So this is again an attribute. Then number of members in the family that we have already seen, it is variate. Name of student, it is attribute, correct? Mobile number, it is variate. Place of birth, that will be attribute, correct? Mumbai or Kanpur or whatever. So this was a very simple exercise. Similarly, one more exercise I have given you here. State with reason whether the following statements are true or false. So first question, total marks obtained by a student in HSC is discrete value. Is it correct? Yes, it is discrete. So this is true. Weight of a student is continuous. Yes, can take decimal value. So this is also true. Number of students appeared for HSC examination in March. That is, number of students cannot be in decimal. Huh? So it is false. It is a discrete value. What about body temperature? Body temperature of a person, it can be in decimal. You may have a temperature of, say, what you can say, 100.3 if you are having the fever. So it can be, it is a false statement. It is a continuous value. Number of accidents happened on a particular road in a month. It's a continuous value. It is discrete, correct? So what we can say, total marks obtained by a student is discrete. It is true. Weight of a student is continuous. That is also true. Number of students appeared for HSC examination is continuous. No, it is false. It is discrete. Body temperature of a person is a discrete variate. No. Body temperature can be in decimal. No? So it is false. Number of accidents happened on a particular road is a continuous variable. False. Number of accidents cannot be in decimal. Correct? So it is discrete. Okay. So these are the two questions. You can write down in your notebook and these assignment questions. The first one and the second. Thank you.